Hello Pears fans, welcome to the first Three Pears chat here at the Midland Road Studios in Worcester. My name is Qasa Alom, TV presenter, sports broadcaster, huge cricket fan, and I'm delighted to say I have some fantastic guests here, the Three Pears, and we're going to be chatting everything Worcestershire County Cricket Club. It's going to be all about the plans for the future, what's been going on, fun, insightful chat, and an opportunity as well to answer some of your questions. So for future episodes, if there is anything that you are curious about, do leave a message and we will definitely try to get back to you as well. I want to say thank you so much to our sponsor for being able to make this happen, Number 15 Recruitment in Worcester. Thank you so much for sponsoring the Three Pears chat, and of course to my fantastic Three Pears guests as well. On the panel we have none other than the King of Spain himself, Ashley Giles, Chief Exec of Worcestershire County Cricket Club, also Alan Richardson, men's head coach for Worcestershire, and also we have a man whose finest cricketing achievement was gritting out a 30 not out from 44 balls at his under-14 school team as they grind out a 2-wicket win. God, that must have been really tough, Joe. Yeah, of course, we've got Head of Partnerships, Joe Tromans, as well. Coming up today on the programme, well, we've got a review over what's happened this winter, also new contracts and signings, what work has been going on in the off-season, plans for the year ahead. There's also going to be some time to answer some of your questions that have already come in as well. Welcome. How are you?
Good. Yeah, great to be here on the first show.
I know. How are you feeling, Richie?
Pretty nervous, but really excited to be here.
Well, if you're nervous about this, come on. I mean, it's not the start of the new season as well, but
Sat next to my boss.
this is very true.
At least he's still unbeaten.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I think at some point in the season we might have to put someone in between you two, but hopefully not. Right. Joe, you well?
Good. Nervously excited, but it's good to be here next to a couple of legends of the game in their own minds, so it's good.
In their own minds, you're talking about me and Ashley, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. No, so this is going to be the whole sort of spirit of these chats. We're going to try and have some fun. We're going to try and explain what's been going on with the club, but also at the same time talk about some of the serious matters of what's coming up in the future as well. So Joe, I'll come over to you first of all. I mean, this is your brainchild. What's the purpose of the Three Pears chat?
I think we just want to engage with more people. We traditionally ran members forums, which is a real traditional format where we'd have on before a match day, number of people, 100 people, 80 people in the Graham Hitt Pavilion. But we need to engage with more people. And I think broadcasting in this format kind of gives us that opportunity. I think members forums, I think they're certainly not a thing in the past. I think a few people have asked that. But this just gives us that opportunity as a much wider audience and engage with more people than just outside of New Road.
Yeah, it's an opportunity, would you say, to be able to explain things in a little bit more depth and be able to speak directly to people in a way that perhaps wasn't there 10, 15 years ago?
Yeah, absolutely. As Joe said, it's a chance to engage with the whole community and even broader than Worcestershire, to talk about almost the current affairs of cricket at Worcestershire and the club, but also some other stuff, hopefully, as well, some stuff that might be in the news around the game. And as you said, to have some fun as well. We'll talk about some very serious topics, I'm sure, but we also want to make it quite good fun and light-hearted.
Yeah, and as always, would love to have your contributions to this as well. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you are listening to this, wherever you're watching this, and of course do get your questions in as well, and in future episodes we will be able to get those questions to our three wise men, Three Pears. Should we say that? Three Pears?
I think it fits better than wise men.
Three wise men. Well, two wise men and Joe. That's also a truth. For yourself, Alan, is this an opportunity to perhaps go over some of the decisions that are made and also tease the direction of where you're wanting to take things on the field?
Yeah, I think it's really important. Obviously, the members are hugely invested in the club and people who are big supporters. And I think to give them a bit of an insight in the direction that we're trying to go, the decisions that we make, and the issues that we might have going alongside that, it'd be amazing to sign every player that we want to or make decisions that everyone thinks, they would do. But there's obviously lots and lots of things for these guys to consider and for the cricket side to consider. So I think, just to try and engage as much as possible with and give guys an insight into, what it's like.
How can fans use this as an opportunity to get closer to the club?
We want people to get involved. I mean, you touched on it yourself. Ask people to send questions in. Ask anyone. We're going to build the show around what people want to know ultimately. So whether you comment on Facebook, YouTube, send us in an email, fill out web form to let us know your questions, what's important for supporters and cricket fans worldwide. Really, it's really important they get involved and we have those engagement touch points.
Great. So we're going to go into some of those key points for this programme very soon. But before we do all that, I want to take a very quick sort of temperature from all of you. How happy are you with where you're at in preparation ahead of the season so far?
Yeah, pretty happy. And it always seems to come around really quickly, the summer. Now into February, before we know it, the guys will be on pre-season tour. And we'll be well into it. It is funny, in our roles, we often get asked the question, what do you do in the winter?
Yeah.
And often actually it's the busiest part in many ways of what we do. Probably not Richo, but for Joe and I, all that build up going into the next year is very, very busy. And particularly with the local challenges we have, as we know, around flooding and stuff like that. But I'm pretty happy where we are right now. And I joked about us being unbeaten currently. But, we do know everything just in terms of when the cricket starts, everything just ramps up a little bit. So we just want to be really prepared for that.
And it's a really exciting place to be at the moment as well, ahead of the season. Div 1 again. What are your thoughts on that, Richard? Where are you? Are you happy with everything?
I have to be at the moment. The guys, we set down some goals that we wanted to achieve last year, and one of them was to get promoted. We wanted to be Division 2 champions. That didn't quite happen, and Durham got champions quite deservedly. But we're now playing Division 1 cricket, and that was what we aspired to in red ball cricket. And for us now, it's a winter of lining ourselves up, getting ready for that challenge. We obviously lost a few players in the summer, so the exciting challenge for me and Ash really to try and build the squad back up again, fill the gaps that we feel needed to be filled with the right characters. So it's been, the winter tends to be quite long for the cricketers. They can't wait to get playing, but it's been really exciting for myself to try and build it back up again.
Yeah, and I think we're both aware of how big that challenge is in Division 1. No one's underestimating that, and it's something the club has struggled with before, almost that yo-yoing that you see in football sometimes as well. So perhaps the biggest challenge for us is staying in Division 1 this coming year. Some very good sides in it, and when you look down the fixture list, actually, it's quite interesting. You often look for an easier game. There are none in Division 1. Every game's going to be really challenging for the side, and the squad's going to be really stretched.
Yeah, and a completely new bowling lineup to talk about as well. Plenty to talk about that we'll come on to. Richard, I had a question for you that's just come to me. I mean, you talked about some of the goals and objectives that you had last year as well. Huge fan I am of Ted Lasso. Do you have a one word on a sheet of paper you put in front of the door that they all need to tap as they leave?
No, we don't have one word. We do have a little bit of a template that the boys came up with last year, which was great, and we kept going back. I'm a huge Ted Lasso fan myself, so if I could have, and if they would have let me have a massive belief sign up there, definitely would have been the case, and tried to model myself a little bit on how Ted was.
You need the moustache then, clearly.
I do. I would love a good moustache, but yeah, the facial hair is a real problem. So, but no, amazing. I've got Kadir Ali as my coach beard, who's been fantastic. And so, yeah.
Does that make you Nate, by the way?
Absolutely not. No, I think
you wouldn't turn.
What's the other guy called? The boring guy in a suit.
That's probably you.
Yeah. He's great though, isn't he? I've forgotten his name.
Exactly.
He's so fun. I've forgotten his name. Does that make you Hannah
Roy
Waddingham?
Kent.
I'll hold my hands up. I've never seen it, so I will go home and watch it now. To see
what I would say is Ash is nothing like Hannah Waddingham.
No. Well,
to confirm
that's quite clear.
Unfortunately.
No, unfortunately not. No.
Quite clear to see. So does that make me the independent journalist as well? I think we're digressing a little bit. But for yourself, Joe, are you happy with where you're at? And we're talking about partnerships, talking about sponsorships as well. Is the club in a healthy position here?
Yeah, I think from my point of view, I think it's fair to say we've had, on the back of what was done last year on and off the field, I think we're having an absolutely outstanding winter commercially. In terms of membership sales, early hospitality sales, in terms of new partnerships, I think we're doing really, really well. We're forming relationships with lots of new people, and that's been a real focus for us. Last year, from about a year ago, when I kind of picked up the commercial portfolio, it was all about giving people great experiences, and that's starting to pay off. And I must say, in terms of my team and commercially, they've worked hard over the winter. And it's a real credit to them and down to them really on the back of it's making the most of the great performances on the field last year that we're really working hard to capitalise on really. It's been a really good win so far.
Good. So let's turn our attention then to the winter. Some of the new signings that have come in. Top of my list, Nathan Smith, 21 wickets at 15 last season in New Zealand, and a pace bowler as well. Talk to me a little bit about the excitement here and how you're feeling about this signing.
Yeah, Nathan was someone that we've had our eye on for a little while. We have Billy, who's our analyst. We give him regular challenges to go and try and find the next big thing, overseas player, and come up with lots of names. We obviously knew that we had some gaps to fill. We had Azhar Ali with us over the last couple of years, who was fantastic. But it felt like, as an overseas player, we probably needed to go down a different route, having lost a few bowlers. So Nathan seemed to fit the bill really well. Really good at red ball record. His white ball cricket is coming on really well. An excellent fielder. But most importantly for us, the reports we were getting back was an amazing character, a really good character who would add to the changing room, which is what Azhar did brilliantly well. And I'll always be really adamant about an overseas player. You obviously would like the results on the pitch, but you can't guarantee that. So if they can add off the field, that's where they had as much value as anything else. And so the assurance was, having now met him and spoke to him, Nathan's a real good character and will add to the changing room.
How important is character for you?
Yeah, hugely. Joe sort of touched on the partnerships bit and the culture bit. We're really trying to work on that throughout the club. Richo's already done a lot of work on that in the dressing room. But bringing the right people into the club is the number one thing. It's a big investment, particularly, well, in any people, but particularly in your players. When you sign players for 2 or 3, 4 year contracts, you've got to get the right people, and I'm really comfortable and happy with the business, if you like, we've done over the winter and at the end of last season.
Yeah, another one, we're talking about Josh Cobb there, when you're talking about people adding to the dressing room as well. The experience there, how much of a benefit is that going to be for the younger members and everybody else in the squad?
Yeah, a huge value for us. Josh has done remarkably well. Playing at Leicester and Northants in a T20. He's been around the world playing some franchise cricket, has captained in the 100. Again, gives us so much in terms of on the field. Explosive batter at the top end, bowls some useful off spin, and just the tactical nous and the experience he will give to the side. It's really exciting for us. So when we had that opportunity to talk to Josh, felt like we had to take it.
Yeah, I mean, all of those characters we've brought in. I'm just looking at the list here. Tommy Taylor, Rob Jones, Ethan Brooks, who's a relatively inexperienced player, but again, of great character and great promise. The temptation is when you lose so many players, you almost sort of play whack-a-mole and just try and fill the gaps. But I think we've done much more than that. We've done our homework. And as Richard talked about with Nathan Smith, he'd be relatively unheard of with the general cricketing public in the UK, but we've done our homework. He's a guy who's on the up. He's someone who will fit with the dressing room, someone who'll be available for the whole summer as well, which I think is really important to give, create that connection with the team. So, we're really happy with where we're at right now. Will we add? Maybe still a little bit. We're always looking to add the right people, but right now, yeah, pretty comfortable.
Second overseas, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, we are looking at
I think these guys are terrible at poker, by the way. They look at each other and like, play it cool.
We are looking at that area, and we have a couple of niggles within our bowling attack. So we may well go for a second overseas player, particularly in that first 7 games, which we've talked about Division 1, how difficult, how challenging it could be. And it's important we try and start well. So, I want to give Richo as much support as I possibly can, and as much firepower as I possibly can going into that first 7 games. So we're certainly looking at it.
Fantastic. You've talked a little bit there about you've done your research, said that 2 or 3 times actually, and and the fact that Nathan Smith's someone perhaps not many people have heard of. You talked about your analysts, research team. It all sounds a little bit Moneyball and that whole idea of just trying to unearth gems. Is that the strategy that's been taken here?
I wouldn't say necessarily that, but I think what we have to do is we have to try and do as much as we can. Mm-hmm. I think we'll all recognise we're probably not in a position to go out and get the biggest players, so we have to go and do, be as resourceful as we can and try and find that jewel or that gem that no one possibly has heard of before, or people have very little knowledge about, who will be really hungry to play with us. It's Nathan's first opportunity to play first class cricket in England, and so you go with that and you back a player to give them that opportunity, and we're really excited to have him. I think the Moneyball side of it all is quite an intriguing one, but you'll always try and find an edge somewhere, and the other 17 counties will be trying to do exactly the same as well.
I think it's, again, when you're bringing players in, it's not just looking at one thing. It's easy to look at the averages and go, it's easy to look at the top 10 in the world if you've got the money and go after those guys, but for us it's trying to look at as many touch points as you can and form an overall picture. But again, I think fundamental to that is the person and the character. You bring the right person in, because there is no guarantee they're going to have success on the field, but you bring the right person in, they're going to add to the dressing room, and you've got a chance.
Yeah. And you talk about chance there, an opportunity. You had Vinda Singh from the South Asian Cricket Academy, who's been trialling for a number of years, been at Worcestershire and out again. Really great opportunity for someone in their mid to late 20s. So, it pretty much this is it, the sort of make it sort of opportunity. What did you see there that thought, actually, we're going to give a pro contract to this person?
Well, first and foremost, we'd seen him bowl, and we obviously liked what we saw. He did really well in the second team cricket that he played in last year. He did really well for Moseley, his side in the Birmingham League, helped them win the Birmingham League, Premier League. And then it was more of, we wanted to go and meet him. So we went off and met him, and the story's quite amazing. I mean, Ash has delved into it quite a bit. And just the character, there's a real hunger, there's a real thirst to do well. It's his dream, as it is with most people, and he's worked incredibly hard to get here. And we see someone that will certainly add to the squad, and it will give him a great opportunity to see how he goes as a professional cricketer, which is exciting for us to give people that opportunity.
Yeah, it's a cutthroat business, isn't it? But it's always nice when you're able to give someone with that sort of backstory. I think he's only really been playing cricket properly for about 10 years. Although, I keep talking about as a young bowler. I should probably say an inexperienced bowler. He's 27 years old, but his cricket time frame's relatively short. It's always exciting. I'm sure he'll do really well. He's been playing quite a lot for Warwickshire last year, and this is something else. It's not about nicking players here and there from other counties, but some of these big counties can only sign so many players. They can only keep so much resource, and if in the end some of that benefits us, then brilliant. Yeah,
and we talk about young bowlers. Harry Darley, teenager, pacey bowler I've heard as well from the academy. Tell us a little bit about him. Someone that fans will be excited about.
I hope so. Yeah, Harry's...
If they don't know that much about it, they certainly will.
Yeah, I mean, he played in the New Zealand game, in the T20 game, and did really well, remarkably well for someone of his experience and his age, playing in front of a full house against an international side. Conducted himself brilliantly well. Had a really good season again, playing academy cricket and in our second team. And just has got come from out of the radar a little bit. He's from Shropshire, from Oswestry, so pretty much on the border of Wales. And he's sort of just snuck up a little bit in the last couple of years and just taken some great strides. And we like what we saw with Harry, another product of the academy, which we're really proud of. And so it's going to be exciting times for him as well. And, everyone sort of progresses at different paces. For Harry, he's gone really quickly over the last couple of years. So it'll be interesting to see how he now takes on being a professional cricketer.
Should be really exciting to see the likes of him, those young academy talents, and use the experience that you mentioned in the squad and learn from that, and see if we can just sort of use that trampoline effect just to really sort of give them the head start. So that'll be really exciting.
Yeah, I think it's important to say, because a lot of these players we've talked about have come from the outside. we will continue to develop players on the inside, which is something Worcestershire have done brilliantly over the years. And if we're not that, we're nothing. I keep saying that we've got to keep developing young players through our system. We can't afford just to go out and buy players all the time. But as everyone knows, we lost a lot of senior players last year, so we had to balance that, the youth development coming through with some more experience from the outside.
Yeah, this chat is all about obviously fun and being insightful, but when there are times to talk about difficult subjects or questions that fans will have that need to be asked, and that's what this is an opportunity to do as well. And you've alluded to it there, this place, strong academy and really good with sort of developing those players. Unfortunately, a lot of those that have been developed did leave over the summer as well. How much of a blow was that? And can you just tell us why that actually happened?
Yeah, it's always a blow when you lose guys who you've hugely invested in, who've come through your system, homegrown. There are always a number of reasons why people leave clubs. Sometimes it's the perception that I've got a better opportunity to play for England, if you like, when I leave, I go to a bigger club. Sometimes it's other factors, and some of those are financial. And sometimes we have to look within as well, and have we always got it right? I'm not sure we have, but there are always a number of things there. Now, does that mean we stop developing players? No, it doesn't. I think we have to face facts that in the future this could happen again. But part of our role, part of our jobs is to develop cricketers that go on and maybe have international success, like Josh Tongue. And one day they may leave us. But it doesn't change the philosophy. We've got to keep developing these players.
Pat Brown as well, another one who, for yourself, how much of a challenge is it going to be to fill that experience, that bowling lineup, which is completely new this year as well?
Yeah, big challenge. I look at it and we're immensely proud of Dylan, Pat, Josh and Jack, who all left and went on. Jack's played for the Lions, Josh went on and played full side for England, so did Pat. So we're incredibly proud of that. Now it's another exciting challenge to try and make the new crop come through. Harry Darley's in no different position than Dylan Pennington and Pat Brown were 4 or 5, 6 years ago. And look how they've gone. So I think for us, of course, it's a gap that we have to fill, but we've got some really good experienced cricketers. Joe Leach has been around for a long time, seen it come and go, and it's a real, he talks about it now. He wants to be around this new group of players to be able to instill them and, how Worcester should go about their cricket, how they need to be, and he's a really strong character. Dolly will be the same, Jake Libby, those sort of senior players. It's an exciting challenge for them. They were obviously disappointed, as we all were, when people leave, but that's professional sport. And so now we have another opportunity for a new crop of players to come through. Some are more experienced and come from outside, and some of the younger players who are coming through from the academy. And it's obviously a blow, it's part of it. And I think if you have a hang up on that, then you're probably in the wrong industry.
Yeah.
Ash, what are we doing then to prevent this same thing from happening again in a couple of years? I mean, as you alluded to, you can't 100% stop that sort of thing when bigger counties with bigger budgets come in, but at the same time, could you be more prepared?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's some of the work we've been doing this winter, is trying to secure a core group of players, and particularly our senior players. And I suppose part of that is protecting them and us. I'm delighted, we've got some of those players over the line with extensions of contracts. So Finch, D'Oliveira, Leach, Libby. I think we're pretty close with Cash as well. So I think we're in a much better spot now. So we can go into next year, and hopefully Richo can go into this summer, knowing where we are. It stops some of those conversations around the dressing room and the uncertainties, so they can actually just focus on the cricket. And in that, we've secured some really important and good people with long histories at the club, and that's really important to us.
Does that give you an opportunity to just sort of put all that away and be like, look, this is the group, this is the leadership group, this is what we're going to do, and actually have them as part of the planning, the thinking?
Yeah, I mean, there was times last year, without shadow of a doubt, it was distracting. But But the players, fair play to them, I think there was a couple of opportunities where it would have really derailed us, and it didn't. And the players were fantastic in leading that. And so this year we'll have different challenges, I think. You know, I'm really appreciative as the head coach that we have a lot more security around that. And so now it gives us more of a focus on the cricket side of it all, and that those senior players alongside with the junior players, less experienced players, really pushing on. The challenge this year will be First Division cricket, and so it's exciting to have that instead of potentially talking about who's going where, who's staying. You know, all those sort of conversations that always drip feed into a changing room.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and I think we've, again, touching on the Division 1 stuff, we've then got a job to manage expectations. And that isn't the case of the CEO sitting here and going, oh, here we go, you know, we're preparing ourselves for a bad season. But we have to face it's going to be tough. So, you know, some of the cricket we saw last year, Division 2, the success, even the 50 over stuff, some, you know, what I call some really good days of the cricket. There may be some really tough days this year. And, you know, we always appreciate the support and our membership, and I'm sure they'll stick with us. But there could be some tough days ahead this summer, but I think we've got a group of people both off the field and on the field who can cope with it.
Yeah, and a fan base as well that's going to be completely behind you all, and subscribing to this programme as well, wherever you're listening. Let's not forget that as well. Joe, I want to come to you now, just to talk a little bit about what's been going on during the winter, from your perspective as well, off the field, when it comes to membership, sponsorships, partnerships, and a bit of planning to make that fan experience a bit better.
Yeah, I think early part of the winter we're straight into kind of membership sales, membership renewals. That, I think, on the back of, again, we touched on before, last season's performances on the field, some improvements in the matchday experience. Is performing really well. In fact, we're 27% up as of the end of January, which is a great position to be in a few months before the start of the season. There's a lot of work that goes into that. And we move forward into new sponsorships and partnerships. We've been lucky to bring quite a few new partners on this year. Some in which are quite strategic, some of which are more traditional kind of shirt sponsor assets and things like that. But I think it's important to us to build those relationships with new partners. They are partnerships, and there's benefits to both sides on that. Both kind of, obviously in terms of ultimately we're here to bring more money in, but in terms of the strategic side as well. We've entered in what is a first in cricket with a new partnership with Pluxee, which is part of the Sodexo group, to add a lot of benefits onto the membership package. That's something that has got a load of benefits to members. We see it's an important thing to give back to them. And one thing we're really proud of in that as well is the health and wellbeing benefits, which opens up for them. For example, they've got access to 24-hour counselling, which I think in terms of what sports clubs are giving back to season ticket holders, members, I think is a really special thing and something we're really proud of as a club.
And for the fans, for people who are actually turning up on match days as well, there's a bit of a change to the experience as well. So, yes, you're always going to have your loyal, die-hard fans who are going to be there, whether it's forecast to have a bit of drizzle or it's going to be a beautiful day. But for those people who want to come for a Friday night or a Sunday or whatever it is and have some family fun as well, is there an opportunity there for them to actually be like, do you know what, this is going to be a great day?
Great experiences is something I talk a huge amount. I mentioned the words great experiences probably 20 times a day in the office, and that's something which we're all really passionate about at the club. But that's across the whole breadth of our kind of product portfolio. So whether it's a match day ticket, whether you're a kind of real high profile corporate partner, whether you come in for a meeting or a conference, whoever you are as a visitor, we want you to come to New Road and to have a great experience with the club. And we invested a lot last year into improving that around T20 and whiteboard games. We saw record figures in terms of ticket sales. We sold out 5 of the 7 T20 games there last year. Massive growth on the One Day Cup as well. We want to continue that. I mean, I'm a massive believer in kind of the Kaizen approach to kind of improving little things all the time and continuous improvement. And that's what we're looking at. I think we get a lot of feedback from everyone multiple ways in terms of how people are enjoying that kind of customer experience, and it's taking these little bits and improving things all the time whilst building great relationships up really at the same time.
Yeah, and I would take it even broader than that. I think it's great experiences for all, and that's our staff, that's our players, our coaches. It's everyone at the club as well as our visitors and members. and those who may just come for one event at Christmas and just come through the doors at New Road. We're not always going to get it right. A bit like the cricket, we're not always going to get it right. So, what we shouldn't do is be afraid of saying it. We're going to be in the business of great experiences, because we know we're still going to get it wrong, and we want that feedback, and then we can do something about it and we can improve. So, as relatively small a club as we are, there's no reason why we can't lead in some of these very important areas. And as Joe touched on, the Pluxee partnership and some of our other partnerships, just fantastic, and actually leading the way in cricket, which is exactly where we want to be.
I think as well, when you touch on the size of the club there, I think, and this is again something we've talked about quite a bit, I mean, people can go to your Twickenhams, your Wembley Stadiums, your bigger kind of sporting venues around the world, and no one really notices that you're there. I think when people come to New Road, we expect everyone to have that warm Worcestershire welcome, that kind of human interaction, and really made to feel special. And that's really important part of our DNA, really, giving that warm Worcestershire welcome and leading on to great experiences.
And also, I want to talk a little bit about the positive work that you're doing to lead the way in the community as well, because yes, it's very important from a club perspective that fans and the community come to support you, but equally you're showing that actually the club is doing a lot to support those in the community. Do tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think we see ourselves as a bit of a community asset in lots of ways. Mm-hmm. I think we need to give back and play our part in the middle of the community. I think possibly going to be controversial here, but I think we're the only elite professional sports club in Worcestershire and the Black Country at the moment. So we've got a really important role to play. We've partnered with Worcestershire County Council, and we're delivering with them fairly big social value agreement in terms of giving a lot back to the community. We've been running soup kitchens since the start of October, I think, which staff have just loved volunteering for. I've personally done it. I think all of us in the room have found it really rewarding. You feel that we make a difference. There's a lot more kind of in the pipeline for that. Within that agreement, there's gardening clubs. There's a whole host of things which are going to be rolled out the next 12 months. And it's a lot, again, we're relying on people getting out there and making a difference in the community as well. Sort of not cricket based, and in other ways where we can support as well.
Yeah, there's a real changing face. We'll probably come to this changing face of cricket right now, and the word purpose comes up a hell of a lot. Now, what's the purpose of our club? And of course, it's developing players and playing cricket, and for our members to watch cricket. But actually, I very much see ourselves as part of the community, particularly where we're placed in Worcester. It should be a hub for hospitality, for live sport, for other experiences. And as Joe said, again, without upsetting anyone, we are the centre of professional sport, really, in Worcestershire. And I think we feel that responsibility as well as that pride.
So it's been really good talking a little bit about some of the ongoings on and off the field throughout the winter. Let's talk a little bit about looking ahead then. I mean, there's lots to discuss here when it comes to the development of franchise cricket, for example. Also, women's cricket and the development there. Also, you mentioned the flooding as well of the ground, which is unfortunately something that's happening all too often at the moment. So what can be done there? But let's talk a little bit about the franchise cricket first of all, with the 100. What does this mean for the health of Worcestershire in the short term, in the longer term?
Yeah, so we're probably getting into some of the controversial stuff, aren't we? Look, the future of the 100 is a much talked about topic right now. Now, I think we need to put the lens on it that is, anything that happens with 100 should be there to secure the long-term future of cricket in this country for all, including us. So I think there's a tendency to feel that the 100 is a threat, but I think we should very much look at it as an ally. I do think there's going to be an expansion, or at least a look for greater investment into the 100, which could and should benefit everyone. And the game, if we're honest, from a financial point of view, there are a number of clubs who are finding it quite difficult, and we would be one of those. So, for me, it's about protecting the future of the game completely. And we're seeing this move in cricket generally from what we call bilateral cricket, so international cricket, to franchise cricket. We've seen the rise of IPL. We're now seeing America. At some point, Saudis will come online, I'm sure. I think what we really need to do, if we're going to have one of these competitions, we need to make it the second or third best in the world. Challenging IPL is going to be very difficult, but if we can make it the second or third best in the world, we'll get the best players in, we'll get the best investment in, we'll make it the best possible spectacle, which is good for the whole game.
Yeah. Is it a bit of a distraction for yourself when we have the discussions about the 100 and whether players are going to be sort of lured towards that, when you're just trying to focus on your team?
I think the big distraction really is mainly for the health of the game. So that's how I generally look at it. When we get right down into it, the players are really encouraged by it. They want to be part of the 100. They see it. Every game's televised. They're generally playing in front of full houses. That's what they want to do. And I did a little bit with the Phoenix a couple of years ago, and fortunately enough, I did a little bit when Ash was director at England, and it's the closest thing to being in international cricket for those domestic players. It felt like that, and so it's a great opportunity for those players. And in general, I've not experienced distractions from the players. If anything, it's really tried to drive them forward again, because it's something that they can see that's reachable. And for some of those players, possibly international cricket isn't quite there, but actually I could get a 100 gig and I can be part of it. And I think, I might be slightly controversial. It has to work. 100 has to work, and it has to be successful for the game, I think, in this country. And so for the players, it's great. And I know that, possibly there'll be a lot of members there screaming at the moment saying no. But for me, it has to work. And in terms of distraction for the players, if anything, it just drives them on again.
And again, to be sure, just so we are sure, this is about protecting the broader game. It's not about a threat to Worcestershire cricket. It's not about a threat to the red ball game and other formats. We've got to look at the whole. And this is probably right now the best vehicle we've got for securing the whole game.
And when we talk about the whole game, we mean for both men and for women as well.
Absolutely.
And when it comes to women, you would argue that, well, it wouldn't even be that much of a debate, would it? The 100 has been huge success for attracting women into the game, excuse me, and also making stars of people who have featured in the 100. So let's talk about Worcestershire and potentially a bid to run one of the women's 8 teams from 2025. Ash, is that something that we're looking at here?
Yeah, so we're seeing, just to explain that move, we're seeing what has been the regional 8 move back towards county associations, if you like, county teams. And there's going to be a tender process for those tier 1 teams. I have to say we're unlikely to bid for one of those tier 1 teams, and that's not at all because we don't support women's cricket, the women's game. At this point, it will just be more a funding and a resource issue for us. Just even in ground facilities, changing facilities, practice wickets, it would be really challenging for us. But the next process from here will be tier 2 and even a tier 3, I think, and certainly we'll be into that. And for us, we host the Central Sparks right now, which is the regional team, but we also have the Women's Rapids, and I'm very keen that we start to develop that team so that when we come to those next levels, tier 2, for example, that we're ready to go.
And off the field, are we ready with that as well to sort of help develop and push that team out wide?
There's a massive potential there. I think we've all seen that women's sport in the last few years across the UK and the world has really taken off. I think and again, going back to the 100 point, I think absolutely get Ash's point. It's about securing the game, but actually if we get it right with the 100, it's a massive opportunity to grow the game for everyone. Actually would lead to more people cricket interested across the UK and the world, which is going to benefit men's and women's cricket ultimately. And I think we've got to, again, use that vehicle to help secure and grow the game. And it's just going to have mutual benefits across everything. In terms of the Women's Rapids, they've been really successful the last few years. Again, we need to grow that and invest in that. And actually, I think we can use them strategically to help grow that game, give them a higher profile, and grow the women's game within Worcestershire. And that's really important to us.
Let's talk a little bit about the ground then, and flooding. I mean, yesterday, it was quite a lot of flooding where I am as well in Worcestershire. So and I was already thinking about New Road and what it must have been like. I mean, there's been quite a few recently as well. But how bad has the flooding been over the winter, and has it been difficult for the ground to recover?
Yeah.
Simple as
pretty easy answer, isn't
It's been
it?
bad. I mean, it's been my first experience.
Yeah.
I mean, I've lived just up the road for 25 years, but working at Worcestershire and seeing it every day, there was a period from about the 22nd, I think it was, of October, up until a couple of weeks ago, where the ground staff just couldn't get on the square. And there were a number of total floods, some, part flooding, but conditions are bad. It's a real. We're very lucky with our grounds team. They work incredibly hard, and it's only over this last couple of days they've started to get the mowers out. And right now it will remain a challenge to be ready for the first home game on the 19th of April. And there's every chance, and we know from history, that we could still get another flood between now and the start of the season.
Every chance, absolutely. And what's this? How does this impact the players and on the field and the actual playing sort of style that you want to implement if you don't, know what the pitch is going to be like, because you don't know if it's going to be underwater and how long it will have been underwater and what it's going to do?
One of the great things I always found, I was lucky enough to play here, and our coach is, players are willing to adapt, and whatever's put in front of them, they do remarkably well. And that's led by the senior players who are used to it. Love seeing the faces of the new players when they first come to the ground and they see it flooding and they can't quite believe exactly what's happening. Rob Jones couldn't quite get his breath for most of it, and we're climbing in over a temporary bridge to get in around the back of the Graham Hick Pavilion, etc. Yeah, whatever happens, hopefully we'll be at New Road for the 19th of April, and whatever, Stephen will do a remarkable job, I know that, to get us up and running and give us a really good surface, and then it's up to us as players and as support staff to adapt to what's put in front of us. And I'm really confident that whatever that looks like, we'll have a really good shot at it. I think practice facilities, as he says ironically yesterday, we're going to be really good. The net surfaces haven't really been touched too much in the last month or so. So, fingers crossed we'll be there for the 19th for the first game.
And there is nothing we can really do. Thinking of the words of an ex-US president about build a wall, but I'm not sure that's going to be possible in Worcestershire. We're on a floodplain, and it's just the way it is.
Well, that was gonna lead to my. I mean, this is meant to be fun, but actually, I just seem to be going from controversy to controversy. So I do apologise, But actually, you say there's not really much else to do, but I'm thinking about it, and like flooding, is becoming so prevalent. Is there a sort of a route forward where we don't see Worcestershire at New Road, that maybe it is looking at somewhere else in the future that won't be?
You've now said it.
I know. I've said
I
it.
thought you were about to plug your nature show then, but we're going to totally different direction.
You could absolutely watch that as well from the iPlayer. However, no, I am looking at it and just thinking, like, if this is happening all the time, and it is happening more and more, then are we looking at a future away from New Road to secure the future viability of this cricket club? Well,
I think my role, I absolutely have to consider the long-term sustainability of the club, whether that be on the field, off the field, financial, as a ground. And we know the way we're going, within 20 years, the square may be, the pitches may be unusable because of the layers of dirt and silt and all sorts of other stuff that comes on year in, year out, maybe 4 times a year. So it is a concern. We know it's one of the most iconic grounds in the world, and absolutely everyone wants to stay there, but it has to be in my thoughts, and it has to be on the thoughts of our membership. Ultimately, it's ultimately a members' club, but it's a real concern because each year it seems to be getting worse. And I think the stats would say in the last 20 years we've had as many high floods as they did in the previous 100. Yeah. So the situation is worsening, and we need to keep an eye on it. Or we could be the first underwater cricket club in the world and then be world champions in underwater cricket. That would be true. I mean, I know I mentioned it, but if there was to be a move, what sort of commercial benefits would actually there be for the club going forward, Joe?
I think I think, look, I've been a Worcestershire supporter all my life. I absolutely love New Road. We've talked about it before. It's an iconic sports ground across the world. But I think, if we're being honest, commercially, there's certainly on the cricket side, there's a glass ceiling, which is fairly low. And again, if we're being frank, we're banging our heads up against it. We've filled out 5 out of 7 Blast games last year. We were sold out in a couple of one-day cup games. We need to keep up with the rest of the game to extract as much revenue as we can from our assets. And I think, for me, obviously, we're in a lucky location in Worcester where it's kind of smack bang right in the middle of the country. So location-wise, I think we're in quite a privileged position there. If we are to kind of keep developing audiences, keep building our fan base, and then to make the most of that, a lot more seating, a lot more hospitality areas, where we're seeing a massive kind of growth spurt in hospitality areas, and that's going to be key to us to keep growing revenue streams for sure.
Yeah, and sorry, this thinking isn't just about one option. We've also got to think about how we can develop New Road, how we can almost make adjustments so we can cope better with the current situation, whether in the future that's dropping pitches or more hybrids, raising the stands, whatever it is. But certainly, the members will know there's bits of New Road that probably need quite quick attention. And so it's balancing all of that together in a plan and trying to come up with the right answers.
I've been asking a lot of tough questions, I know, so I do apologise but let's go, Richard, to you now. What's coming up then? What have you got coming up with the team between now and the first championship fixture?
Well, we're at Malvern College now up until the start of March, and then we're really lucky that we're going to go on a small training camp on the 4th of March for 10 days to Desert Springs in Spain, which is a really good facility. A lot of sides use it. I know Derbyshire and Hampshire are going to be out there, I think, just after us. So opportunity for those guys who haven't been away. We've got quite a few guys who have and are still away, but for those guys who haven't been away, to get out on grass and just take it that next step further, really. We've trying to build the intensity of training as we go along, but it's a hell of a long pre-season. We started middle of November, really. So for those guys, it's the next step up, really. Chance for us to get outside, chance for the boys to spend a lot of time together, and some of those new signings will be part of that. So it's a nice way for us to build up. And then we go to Kidderminster, we have Durham University, then we go away to Hampshire, then we got the South Asian Cricket Academy as build-up games before that first game at Edgbaston on the 5th. So it feels like it's a nice little build-up and as much as we can probably hope for, really, looking at it.
Opportunity to top up your tan as well, I imagine.
Not really.
No.
Last year when we went, we would walk down to the nets and it was 4 degrees there. It was exactly the same temperature.
Where's my violin?
Malvern. So yeah, anyone feel sorry for me, please do. It's not the easiest place to go, but Florida next year.
Wow.
Yeah.
If you need a host for that, then certainly give me a ring. Let's talk about the kit launch, Joe. What have you got in store this year? Something exciting?
We think so. We're going to do it a little bit differently to the past. So we're working with some other partners and Castor to try and deliver a bit of a bigger product, something that really showcases us as a club and kind of our values, really. So I mean, that's going to come up probably we're working towards end of March, launch date on that. We've got some great new designs from Castor. And we're trying to work up something different and really special, really.
When he says a bigger product, he doesn't just mean a XXX shirt.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But it's going to be quite exciting. Yeah, as we said before, we're trying to do things a little bit different. Joe and his team have done a great job across the board, and it's just looking at different ways we can deliver stuff for the membership and the broader community.
There's a huge appetite, isn't there, for a cricket team to get behind here. So the opportunity to give that is exciting.
Yeah, and I think it's important for us. Ash touched on it, doing things differently. We want to put ultimately, again, I'm going to mention great experiences, but doing us differently gives us that opportunity to kind of stick our head above the parapet, to kind of stand out in what is really busy market, especially digitally these days. Doing things differently, let's try new things, let's engage with new people, build Worcestershire as a brand, and let's keep developing that supporter base, that fan base.
Fantastic. So almost all we've got time for, but I did mention that there's always going to be a little opportunity to get some of your questions answered. We've had a few in. I haven't vetted them, so if there's any that come through that are a little bit pointy, but then I suppose I've been asking loads of pointy questions, so you lot will be absolutely fine. But Kyle Ferguson, here we go. This is a tough question. Kyle Ferguson says, great question, Kyle. If you could only eat one flavour crisp for the rest of your life, what would that crisp flavour be? Ash, go ahead.
I'm sticking with what I said before. Beef Monster Munch.
Beef Monster Munch.
Yeah.
I just can't.
No?
They're just so messy.
They're messy. It's like
Crumbs
a meal.
everywhere.
It is a meal, yeah.
Yeah.
Stuck in your teeth.
It's not even the best flavour Monster Munch.
What's the best flavour?
Well, flaming hot, and then the classic pickled onion.
Pickled
surely.
onion's very good.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. But beef, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice and spicy knickknacks.
No hesitation there.
Absolutely none at all. Could eat them all day. Happy with that question, Kyle. Keep them coming.
That's proper old school as well.
It is old school, yeah. Slightly unconventional,
Yeah.
crisp, but I really like them.
Joe, I would say you're a crisp aficionado. Is that polite?
I could live on crisps.
Yeah.
Not for very long. Easiest question you've asked all day. Steak McCoys.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Easy.
Okay, cool.
Are we allowed to product place like this?
If Steak McCoys want to throw some over to Joe,
If McCoys want to give me a lifetime supply, it's going to cost them a lifetime supply. It would
cost
be
you
cheap.
your health probably as well,
But-
mate, lifetime.
Yeah.
What a way to go.
Right, Dave. So back to more serious questions. Dave Green said, "Why can't you change the name back to Worcestershire Royals and play in green?"
Well, we could, but I think we're very happy with the Rapids brand.
There you go, Dave. Simple as. It's the Rapids. Get behind. SportMad1964 on Instagram says, "Is the new indoor training centre going to be built? If so, is there a timeline?" Good question.
Timeline, not sure. We're working alongside the university in hopefully building this new indoor centre there, which will be all singing and dancing, bells and whistles, and will also be a facility for disability teams, etc. So, yeah, we're hopeful. I'm just not sure when. I think the project's been ongoing for some time, and as we know, all these projects get more and more expensive as the years roll by. So, we're hopeful with the university support, ECB support, that it'll get done soon.
You've done a lot of talking, so thank you very much. I hope you're this enthusiastic when we're down to like episode 7. You're like, oh, him again. Also, I'll let you have a rest on this one.
you.
Richo, we'll come to you on this one. What's your favourite part of working at the club?
Having been as a player and a coach, it's always about the feel that you get from the people that are there. I was very lucky that I played at a couple of other counties, and they had their own special qualities. But for me, Worcester, the people that you get to work with and get to meet.
Joe?
It's a great place to go in. The backdrop you've got as an office is incredible. Richo said the teamwork's incredible, and kind of living in and working in a sport that you love is just really rewarding as well, especially when the team do well.
I don't even know if I should ask this one or not. I mean, I did say I hadn't vetted them, but Warwickshire, their Twitter account has said, "Who was the best player you played with at Warwickshire?"
Well, is it to me or
Yeah,
Richard?
but Ash, I'm going to go to you.
Okay,
What you down the line.
I was lucky that I played with some incredible players, but I've always said the best batsman I've ever seen is Brian Lara, and I played with Brian, the most incredible player, broken all the records, still holds some. So yeah, it would have to be Brian.
Is this leading to how many times you got him out?
I was going to say.
Yeah, a couple of times. Thank you, Joe, for that prompt.
Caught where? How far?
Cow corner.
LBW, bowled, caught behind. Not too bad.
Right, LBW wasn't out, probably.
Not these days, it
DRS,
wouldn't have been.
No, actually, I don't
Too
think it
old
was
for
LBW.
DRS.
Actually, I don't think it was LBW. I think caught behind, caught slip, and bowled. He would have been stumped as well, but
Yeah.
thanks for asking.
Richo?
Obviously, Ash was by far the best Warwickshire player I played with, and if
Thank
it
you.
wasn't Ash, I was also very fortunate. I caught the back end of a very, very successful time there. So and Alan Donald was someone that I played with, but I think I caught him at the back end. It would have been amazing to have watched him in full flight. But Sean Pollock for me was absolutely fantastic, and we got him at a time when he was still playing a lot of international cricket. Was captain of South Africa, and he was just a phenomenal player, and also just a very special guy as well. So
What a pro. What an absolute pro. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Very quickly, last question. I know I've been keep saying that, but very quickly, 30 seconds or less. Joe, I'll come to you first of all. What are your goals for the season ahead then? Apart from the sponsorship with McCoy's.
Sponsoring McCoy's, delivering great experiences across the board, the more we can see people come back to New Road and more often, the better. That's what it's all about.
I don't want to sound cheesy, but I want the members to be really proud of the boys and how they go this year.
Yeah, a few things. Experiences. We want people to come in, enjoy themselves. On a more serious note, I suppose the long-term sustainability of the club is high on the agenda. And Division 1 cricket next year would be
Nice.
really good.
Thank you so much. Believe, boys, as Ted Lasso said. Appreciate it. Thank you so much to everybody for watching, listening. Don't forget, please do subscribe. And also, if you have a question for next week, whether it's about favourite crisps or if it's something like what's your favourite dessert, then do get them in. Leave us a comment or email in and put something on social media as well. Thank you so much to Midland Road Studios for having us for the 3 Pairs chat, to our sponsor for today as well, Number 15 Recruitment. My name is Qasa Alom. I've been your host. Thank you so much for listening and watching.